I hope you guys are doing well. Today we're going to talk about variables and data types. First of all, I want you to create a new project. Make sure, actually before that, go into the options and change all the tools and options that we've done before. Create a new project, call it the name here, last name, first name, underscore California. I want you to create a form, make it look like this. You have labels and text boxes and this label, you're going to be changing the properties to that label. We have some buttons here, so go ahead and do that. Go ahead and pause. Once you've created the form, make sure that the text boxes and the labels and buttons have the proper names. I'm going to click on this button here so you can see, or the drop down so you can see the proper names that I've used. So go ahead and do that. Don't forget to call your form main form. So go ahead and pause it and complete that. Once you've done that, I'm going to show you this form. So if you take a look at this little program, pretend it's California registration form. It's just some basic information having to do with driving and tickets and stuff like that. So let me just explain it to you. First name, somebody's going to type their first name, their last name. How many tickets do you have? It's going to be a number here. Total amount paid in fines, it'll be a dollar amount. Do you have a license? Yes or no. And then once you click submit, it'll give you a little summary of this information. If you click clear, it'll clear the data here. If you click exit, it'll close the program. So let's start looking at some programming, and let's go to view code. So this is all we would have so far in our code. First thing I want to show you, I'm going to type an apostrophe here at the top, or if you were at the bottom, make sure you click all the way to the top, create some space by pressing enter. Type in the apostrophe, and when we do this, what we're doing is we're creating a comment. So notice the text is green. I'm going to type author, and I will type my name. So I'm going to continue adding some comments, and make sure to type in the comments that I type in there. So as you can see, I typed 3 lines of comments. I want you to do the same. Obviously you'll change the name, perhaps change the date, and type in this as your program explanation. The reason we create comments is for documentation purposes. Throughout the code, we will use comments to give more details of the code we're using. In real projects, maybe 2 or 3 or more programmers are creating an application, so documentation is very important. From now on, I want you to create comments, 3 lines of comments in the beginning of your project, in the beginning of your code. You're going to create some space, you're going to go to the next line, and you're going to type 3 statements, and I'm going to type them in there and then you copy them. I want you to type these 3 statements: option explicit on, the second one is option infer off, and the third one is option strict on. I will talk about these in another video, but for now just type them in there. Once you've done that, I want you to click inside your public class main form, and we're going to go ahead and program the exit button. So this is just a refresher. You should know how to do this already. And I'm going to type me dot close. Alright, you should know how to do that. I'm also going to type in the code for the clear button. This is review for you. I'm going to change it up a little bit though. So the name of the control I used is called summary label. I'm changing the text property. So this time around I'm typing in string dot empty. So from now on I want you to, when you program your clear button, you're going to have the name of your control. In this case it's this item here. That's what you want to clear. So that's I called it summary label dot text is the property, and then we have these last uh, words here, string dot empty. Okay, next item. Now what we want to do is program this button, the submit button. So let's take a look. Let's look for our submit button. We're doing the click event or declaration. So here we go. In this area, this is where we are going to declare our variables. And as a rule of thumb, each of these text boxes, you're going to have a variable correspond to each of the text boxes and to the label where your result is going to be in. So think of it as all these text boxes are input. The client or somebody who's going to type some information in here, and then think of this as output. So every time we run this little program, all these the values, the contents of these text boxes are going to change, and that's why we call it a variable, because the values change. But we need to store this information somewhere, and the place that we store it in is something that we call a variable. Now a variable, think of it as just a place in the computer's memory where it holds this information. So before we store the contents in variables, we need to know what kind of data we're going to be saving. And this is where we talk about data types. So here under first name, what kind of data is going to be in here? Is it going to be numbers or letters? Well, it's safe to say that first name is going to be letters. So in computer programming terms, we call text, we call it a string. So we're going to be using a string of data type for first name, a string data type for last name. And let's move on to the next one. How many tickets do you have? Well, we're talking about whole numbers here. You know, you could have 3, 4, 10 tickets. You can't have half a ticket. So we're talking about whole numbers. In programming terms, we call this integer. So in here, for this text box, we're going to be using the integer data type. Next one below, total amount paid in fines. We're talking about a dollar amount. So whenever we're doing dollar or monetary, we're going to be using a decimal. The next one is, do you have a license? Yes or no. You only have two options, two choices. Whenever you only have two choices, whether yes or no, we're going to use what's called a Boolean. So let's go back to our code, and we're going to program declarations for all these variables, and we're going to assign a data type to each of them. So in order to create a variable, declare a variable, I'm going to start with the keyword dim. I'm going to press enter, and notice how dim, it's a keyword, it's blue. Now I'm going to type the name of my variable. So for this first variable, which is for first name, I'm going to start with a prefix called, and I'm going to type str, which is for string, and I'm going to type first name as string. And it's okay if it's green and it's squiggly, it's okay, that's what's going to happen. So dim is the keyword, str first name, that's my variable name. So throughout the code, I will always refer to the value that whatever somebody types in here, you know, it's going to be saved in this variable name. And now our data type is string, meaning it's just text. As is just another keyword that we use. Okay, so this is what we call a variable declaration. Now I'm going to type the rest of them and then I'll explain each of them to you. Okay, go ahead and copy those declarations. Once you copy those declarations, let me explain what they mean. So the second one was for our last name here. Whatever someone types in here is going to be stored into this variable name. str, which is the prefix for string, and then str last name is the name. It's going to be, the data type is string. Int tickets, that's for this one here. Remember, this was an integer, a whole number. So int meaning integer is the prefix, tickets as integer, our data type. Next one, DEC total amount, that's for this one here, total amount paid in fines. That's a decimal. Okay, so this is like a dollar amount. The last one is, do you have a license, yes or no? I'm using what's called a Boolean, and BLN license, that is our variable name, and Boolean is our data type. Now notice how the variable names are in camel case. I want to make sure that you guys do that all the time. Create your variable names in camel case. And let's take a look at some rules. You have access to this presentation, so one of the slides shows the rules for creating variable names. I'll let you take a look at that, and it shows a little example. You have several examples here. Okay, so you have to have a prefix for your variable name. In one of the other slides, it shows you the prefixes. It also shows you all the data types that you can use in Visual Basic. The ones that I've used for this example, these are the most common ones that we'll be using: strings, integers, decimals, and booleans. But these are all the other ones here. So byte, from byte all the way to long, these are all integers, meaning whole numbers, and this is the values that you can go up to. The next set are decimals. Okay, most likely we'll be using decimal, or sometimes we'll use double. For these are special. This is char or car, whatever you want to call it. It's any single character, it just holds one character. Boolean holds the value of true or false. So you only have two choices, yes or no, true or false. String is text, a combination of characters. Now a lot of people ask me, oh, so what about address? If I had first name, last name, and then I have address, what do I use for address? You would use a string, because address has letters and numbers. Letters and numbers. So, but we'll be using string for address. The rest of them, we may talk about them or not, but for now, these are the ones we're going to be using most of the time. So make sure your program looks like this, and we'll see you in the next video.